got the cornfield calm, Midwest tone, but he's spitting facts like a dog with a bone. Lanky frame, fire-haired, eyes on the case, breaking down the game in the darkest place. Sports scores to murder boards, Hoosier logic cuts like swords. From Friday lights to chalked out lines, this redhead's brain rewrites the lines inside the Hoosier mind, where the stories twist and stats unwind. He's a legend in flannel, mic in hand, digging deep where few can stand. From touchdowns to crime scenes raw, he's got the truth in every draw. Yeah, step in if you dare to find what's brewing inside the Hoosier mind. He'll talk Pacers, Colts, or Colts on trial. Hoosier humor with a devilish smile. He's that redhead sleuth with a box of clues. Takes your headline, breaks the news. With every stat and every scream, he's painting portraits in your stream. Don't blink, he'll tie it tight. From game night wins to murder fight. Inside the Hoosier mind, where the facts hit hard and the lines are blind. He's a ginger ninja, smooth and slick, cracking cases play by play quick. From courtrooms to the hardwood floor, he digs for more than just the score. Tune in and don't rewind, you're deep now inside the Hoosier mind.
There we go. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome into Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you by Military Broadcast Radio, helping give veterans a voice. And my newest sponsor, right over here to my right, well, you're right, my left, technically, Gunfighter Beard Company. And the really cool thing about this is when I reached out to Gunfighter Beard Company to see if they would be willing to sponsor me, he gave me complete and total free reign to pretty much say however I wanted to say as far as giving his product an honest review. And I will say his product is absolutely fantastic. For anybody who knows me, for anybody who has watched the show, or if you're new and you want to know more about this, random Air Force guy that does a sports podcast who has a beard, when I was growing up, couldn't grow a beard at all, had no facial hair, absolutely nothing. And then I joined the military, and then of course wasn't allowed to have facial hair. Wasn't allowed to have facial hair for 8 years. Then I get out, come to find out I can actually grow a pretty decent beard. And while that's happening, I have no idea how to take care of this thing. Like, I had never heard of beard oil. I've never heard of beard balm, butter, beard wash, beard conditioner, like none of that. And at the time, too, it was still pretty relatively new. It hadn't really hit like a big mainstream market yet. And so I got really lucky as I started to grow mine out, started to do more research. I was able to find a few different beard companies, and Gunfighter Beard Company stuck out to me the most because he is a Marine Corps veteran out of South Carolina. He makes absolutely fantastic stuff as far as beard care goes. He also has skin and tattoo balm, different products for that. He also has stuff for the missus. If you want her to smell pretty, they have like different wax melts. They have different type of body serum, stuff like that. And he has a wide variety of scents. He's got like novelty stuff. You can smell like famous candies like Sour Patch, Jolly Ranchers. You can even smell like Krispy Kreme donuts. He even has his own custom scents that he does. One of them that I use is called Daydream. It's like smoked lavender, vanilla, and tangerine. Absolutely fantastic. And then he also has famous cologne scents too. So a lot of the big name brand colognes that you're probably into, like Aqua di Gio, all of those different types of brands. He has beard picker products that mimic those and smell just like them. So definitely check them out. Gunfighter Beard Co. Gunfighterbeards.com is for all of his products and whatnot. So big shout out to them. Appreciate you guys for willing to sponsor me and willing to take a chance on me nonetheless. But for the actual meat and potatoes of the show, though, nonetheless, college football, unfortunately, is over for the season. And as we're sitting here, believe it or not, even though the season is over, we still have drama happening in college football, even though it's been over now for about 2 weeks. And it's something that, if you're new to the show, we've actually talked about before. If not, that's perfectly okay because I'm going to kind of go back over it now. And it's the fact that the college football landscape right now is essentially a wild west of how everything is handled. Now, one of the things that I believed was true until I did a little bit of research, also listened to a couple guys that are also really big into college football, one of them being Joel Klatt. And I know some people have a hit and miss opinion on him, and I can see why. But I did really like his in depth analysis as far as what happened with Dabo Swinney and his linebacker, Luke Farrelly. Luke Farrelly was a transfer from Cal, actually committed to Clemson after, Dabo finally dabbled in the transfer portal. And Dabo has not been a fan of doing that at all. Dabbles in the transfer portal. Luke Farrelly is actually contacted by Pete Golding, the head coach of Ole Miss, to see if, hey, we know you just signed, we know you're just there, but what's your buyout? And for a lot of people who, like myself, I criticize Dabo Swinney a lot. I like Dabo Swinney. I respect the fact that he's an old school college coach. He's been at Clemson for a really long time. He's had a lot of success there at Clemson. I can't take that away from him at all. But it really does make me wonder with him because you finally dabble in it, you get a guy, he commits, and then he decommits and he goes somewhere else because of the money being more. So I'm going to play the clip that Dabo had as far as his interview, his explaining his part, and he does say that this isn't just him being Clemson and being upset, but you listen and then you tell me what you think. Take a look.
My proposal is that everybody gets one free transfer with no consequence. Players whose head coaches leave or the head coach is fired may also transfer without a consequence. If you graduate, you can transfer without a consequence. For all other instances, players must sit one season following their transfer. This would mitigate, not eliminate, but this would mitigate the tampering and again, in some cases, the extortion with agents trying to renegotiate every single year. However, I want to say this. Any player who does have to sit a year, they can have that year of eligibility back reinstated upon graduation. This would incentivize graduation and minimize this 3-4 time transfer situation that to me is plaguing college football.
So Dabo does have a point in this. And again, where this all started is because of his linebacker, Luke Farrelly, committing and then leaving. And we'll go through a quick little kind of day by day situation as far as what happened. And this is according to MSN, and even Coach Swinney actually points this out and has a timeline stamp of what happened throughout this. So apparently this first started Sunday, January 4th. Clemson's general manager, Jordan Sorrells, had his first conversation with Farrelly's agent, Ryan Williams. Farrelly and his father were at Clemson. They met at Swinney's house the next night, Monday, January 5th. That was the first time they had met. It was just to get to know each other right off the bat, initial introduction and whatnot. They had also just come from Ole Miss. And, Coach Swinney kind of asking, how'd it go? He said, not good, said it was a mess, unorganized, it was chaos. Building was a mess. Nobody knew what was going on. And that is fair because at the time, Ole Miss was still trying to figure out, okay, do we have Lane? Do we not? What coaches are going to be here? What coaches aren't? Are they staying? Are they going? So that does track as far as probably the initial perception of Ole Miss looks like a mess right now. So that sounds about right. And so Coach Swinney said then he was looking forward to having him on campus for an official visit. Following day, Tuesday, January 6th, it's the official visit. They start at 2:30 p.m., given an offer to join the program, and said that they verbally accepted the terms of the offer. It's important to note that Swinney was only looking for one linebacker this transfer cycle since he believed that he already had his guy and canceled remaining visits from other linebackers. We're going to take one, so we got our linebacker, he said. We canceled all visits of all the other guys that we were going to schedule to come in throughout the rest of the week because we're done. Now, this is also on par for Coach Swinney because Coach Swinney has never really been big into the transfer portal, and he's not even really been big when it comes to dealing with his recruits and whatnot. because with his recruits, you have this I appreciate everybody watching, by the way. You have this guy that he's very, very committed to Clemson. Coach Swinney has been big. Like, if you're not committed to Clemson, he really doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't want to have anything to do with you, but if you even entertain wanting to go somewhere else after that, he's been known to revoke scholarships, cancel deals, whatnot. So this does track for who Dabo Swinney is and how he operates. Wednesday the 7th, so the following day, Swinney said that Ferrelli and his father left to go back to California. However, before that, he signed his financial aid agreement with Clemson. This essentially meant that he had everything handled to be a student come the beginning of the following week. January 11th, he officially moved to Clemson on that day, had an apartment rented, buys a car, was also in class for that week. He was training with the team, was in team positions meetings during this time. January 14th, Sorrells is called. So the Clemson general manager is called by Williams, Ferrelli's agent, on Wednesday night, who speaks to him about how Ole Miss has been coming hard after Ferrelli. He said, "Are you talking about the same Luke that's been enrolled at Clemson, that's been in class, that's moved here, and that's signed with Clemson?" Swinney detailed. Williams confirmed. However, the agent assured Sorrells that Luke had no intention of leaving Clemson. He just wanted to keep the program in the know about the situation, which might necessarily be fair. However, the way that I would also approach this is that he's probably letting them know, hey, I'm probably getting other offers. Like, this school is still coming after me. Like, what are you prepared to do about it to try to keep me more than anything? Which on Clemson sides, I get, because you already agreed to everything. You're already enrolled. You're already starting everything. Like, what do you mean? What are we willing to do for you? You already agreed to do this. On the other hand, if you're a kid like this who is obviously very highly sought after, and you have another college or a program that is willing to pay more to get you, for a career and for a game that is very limited, you have to entertain it, right? Like, you've got to at least hear them out. So I would kind of get both sides on this. And then on the 15th, Sorrell tells Coach Swinney about the conversation that following morning. Clemson head coach then makes a move telling the general manager to reach out to Austin Thomas, who is Ole Miss's general manager. He wanted to give head coach Pete Golding a warning because all the pieces moved from the Lane Kiffin situation. Golding was the head coach for about 6 weeks at the time. I said, you reach out to the GM. I'm going to give him some grace, let him know that we know what's going on. All right. Swinney then told Sorrells that if the Rebels do not cease communication, Clemson was going to turn him in. Of course, this continues over text, said the same morning again. But then apparently Pete just does what he does, quote unquote, from Coach Swinney. Around 1:30 p.m., Sorrell then meets with Ferrelli in his office. It was then that Ferrelli told him that the linebackers coach about the text he received Wednesday morning. Ferrelli was in his 8 a.m. class, got a text message from Coach Golding. The text message said, "I know you're signed, but what's the buyout?" Linebacker said that Golding also texted him a picture of a $1 million contract. And then Luke also mentioned to Jordan and to Ben that Coach Golding had Trinidad Chambliss on the phone, and that Coach Golding was there talking on his phone to push him to re-enter the transfer portal. He also said that NFL quarterback Jackson Dart had reached out and called, but again, Luke reassured Jordan that he had no intention of leaving. So again, this is where you have more of the evidence of tampering for sure. And this is where Coach Swinney has a little bit more of a pretty significant issue with this. And then January 16th, it's the last day that players can announce that they're entering the transfer portal. That morning, there's a staff meeting. Ferrelli had called the defensive linebackers coach and told him that Ole Miss had reached out again. This time they doubled his offer to come play. But Luke told Ben, hey, we're good. And so Ben told Luke to come to his office, see Sorrells and Coach Swinney, and let him know everything is okay. After that meeting, the Clemson defensive linebackers coach texted Sorrells, telling him that Ole Miss raised the offer to $2 million over 2 years. Sorrell spoke with Ferrelli's agent Williams about the situation. Williams confirmed this. The agent confirmed the head coach Golding had continued to communicate with Luke and had raised the offer. And then when Sorrells asked Ferrelli to show the text messages he received, Williams was hesitant, saying that he didn't want to burn any bridges with Ole Miss. However, the agent communicated that if they were to add a second year at $1 million to the already guaranteed deal with Luke, that they would gladly give up whatever they need in order to turn Ole Miss in, and Sorrell's declined. And that's when at 11:57 that same day on the 16th, that Williams said the Ole Miss assistant director of player personnel, Jay Cowdery, was setting up a Zoom call with Ferrelli to discuss contract details. 30 minutes later, Sorrell's meets Ferrelli in the football facility parking lot, and the linebacker said that he was there to assure Sorrell's and Swinney that he was staying. Swinney notes that he wasn't in the building, but got a call from Sorrell's at 4:14. Sorrell's approaches Swinney again, saying that he got a call from the compliance office. Ferrelli was looking to request to re-enter the portal. Tom Allen was also informed. Ferrelli did not answer his phone after Clemson called him 5 minutes later. And at 4:40 p.m., Sorrells and Allen drive to Ferrelli's apartment. Swinney said that the transfer was in his driveway. When they got there, his immediate response was, "I'm going to Ole Miss." About an hour later at 5:39, Sorrells spoke with Thomas, saying that Clemson was going to pursue all options to have them be accountable for tampering. And as a result, Coach Swinney then contacted Athletic Director Graham Neff and the ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips to begin the next legal steps. Wednesday, January 21st, so 5 days later, Ferrelli's officially in the transfer portal by multiple outlets. And then January 22nd, the following day, Ferrelli announced his commitment to join Ole Miss 6 days after he decided to leave the Tigers. So there's a whole lot to unpack with that. And again, I get both sides. I do. This is the first time Coach Swinney has really dabbled in anything when it comes to the transfer portal. He's been super reluctant. I think this season, not bringing guys in, trying to solely rely on who you've recruited, what you've been able to bring in just naturally through the old school system way, did not end up playing. It did not pan out well for him. And again, you don't have to rebuild your whole roster, but at least supplement pieces, because we've seen other coaches do that, and they've done tremendously well with just supplementing pieces that they need. I.e., look at Ohio State. Look at, I don't really want to use Alabama because Alabama's kind of been hot and cold, but we have seen honestly, Indiana. Indiana has been a really good comparison of that too. Of guys leave, all right, we're going to bring this guy in because they play the specific style that we need. Same with Miami. Miami did the same thing this past year. Look at Carson Beck. They lose Cam Ward. Okay, we need a quarterback. Let's go look at a quarterback that we think is going to fit our system and fit what we're using and doing the most. So they go and get Carson Beck, and it takes them all the way to a national title. And they played pretty competitively throughout the whole game. But where Dabo is upset is the fact that the kid committed, basically went through everything, was still getting contacted, even though he'd already signed. And again, from his perspective, I get that. You've already done everything. You've already signed the paperwork. You've already agreed. The contract was already signed and handled and whatnot. Here's the other thing. If I'm both parties, right? If I'm Ferrelli and I'm Coach Swinney, I get where you're coming from as far as try to get as much money as you can now. Essentially, you're only there for 1 year already. You signed a 1 year, $1 million contract. And you were already pretty sought after because Ole Miss was still going after you hard. And for them, the money is guaranteed. So I do get where he wants the money, right up front, just in case anything happens. And the other part that I would really argue is that if you do, because right now he's a redshirt freshman. So he's with Cal from 2024 to 2025, so just last year. He was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now he's with Ole Miss. So, he's there. Like he's young. He'll probably even transfer again, more than likely, unless he just, really is really a big fan of Pete Golding and how Ole Miss runs his defense and how Ole Miss runs their defense and whatnot. More likely he's going to transfer again. So you have the opportunity, barring a freak accident, to make more money and to get paid again. So you don't have to do that. But where Coach Swinney's coming from, and this is where I like Coach Swinney because it's that old school style of thinking with college football. But the problem is we're now well past that. We've been well past that since NIL has first started. You don't have to only do recruiting anymore. Now you can get guys in the portal that maybe they're only a 1 or 2 year rental deal. Maybe most of them are probably just a 1 year rental deal of I'm going to go get a guy that I need for, position wise. I'm going to go get a guy that I need that has experience, that's going to lead the team, a culture guy that I think is going to embody what I want out of my team. And then we're going to roll with it. So I understand that wholeheartedly. But on the flip side, he has to realize it's a business. This is essentially free agency. And while there's no technically punishment for anything to happen, until there's some type of enforcement of punishment, there's really nothing he can do. And one of the things I did want to point out, because I talked about it earlier, a few episodes back in the show, is when the House settlement came, and part of the House settlement was the agreement that there's going to be this College Sports Commission, the CSC. And the CSC is essentially supposed to overtake the NCAA as far as being a governing organization that's supposed to have teeth, that's supposed to have bite, that's supposed to have merit. My initial first thought when I heard this was, okay, this is just basically all agreed upon by all the schools, and this is going to become the new governing body. No. Apparently schools have to agree to it. So all the schools collectively have to agree that, yes, we recognize them as the governing body. Yes, they're going to be the ones that tell us what to do. Essentially kind of the same way they did with the NCAA. I'm not going to sit here and say how that came about, because I honestly don't know, and I'm not going to speculate either. But essentially that's what they would have to do with the CSC is, you agree to do it. Once you do, all right, cool. Now you're kind of a part of this membership of the CSC. Now there's a governing body. And if Ole Miss and Clemson were to do that, then Clemson can say, hey, you tampered, you broke the rules, you need to be punished for it. Now, what exactly that would entail, I don't know. For the most part with college football, we've seen, vacation of wins. We've seen vacated, bowl games, even banned from bowl games, banned from like postseason competition and whatnot, which I get and I don't. And here's why I say that. If you want to punish the coach, fine. I don't care for punishing the guys that are on the team that had nothing to do with that situation, right? Like, so say hypothetically, like Ole Miss gets punished for this. Any of these new incoming freshmen, any of these new incoming sophomores, anybody, any of these transfers that aren't a part of the team, that weren't a part of the team prior to this happening, right? If they come in and then somebody says, actually, Ole Miss, you're banned from playing a postseason competition, that's not fair. It's not fair to those guys. Like, wait a minute, I didn't have anything to do that. Why do I got to get punished? And I know the whole, we're one team. If one guy goes down, we all no. Not this way. No, and not the way that college football is run, not the way that these athletes, and really the way anybody would do this. Of no. Why am I getting punished for what somebody else did that I had no part of? I was asked to come here. I was paid to come here. I come here. I do what I'm supposed to do. And now I can't even compete in the postseason? No, thank you. No, thanks. So it's interesting to see if the CSC truly will come to fruition, if they finally will be able to govern. But one of the points was brought up that it may not, because of the fact that there are rules, they're just not enforced. And if you have guys like, Pete Golding, he's thriving. Hey, I got a top linebacker out of the portal for my team. That's something that I needed. I'm going to keep doing it the way that I want to do it. I don't want to be governed. Same Mario Cristobal in Miami. They just got the quarterback, Darian Mensah from Duke, who that was a whole contract issue because, again, he was signed with Duke, and through some type of way, as far as wiggling out of his contract and whatnot, they were like, nope, transfer to Miami. He's probably going to be the starting quarterback for the Hurricanes. So yeah, Mario Cristobal is probably not going to be like, yeah, let's be governed. No, thank you. Don't want to do it. No, thanks. And, but you're probably going to have more of these old school guys, like Dabo. I know Mike Gundy unfortunately hasn't been hired yet, but Mike Gundy's kind of one of those old school guys, who, again, I appreciate the old school coaches because they want to keep college football the way that it has been prior to the NIL, as far as, if you commit to a place, you stay there. all of these different things, but unfortunately, that's just not going to be the case. Dabo did bring something up, though, that I am a big fan of. And he was talking about the rules as far as the transfer portal goes of, and there's two key things that I really liked from Dabo's take on how to fix college football. The first and foremost is the education. Now, I have done a couple interviews with, NFL agents, scouts, everybody like that, as far as what do they feel about the education part. And one of the gentlemen actually brought up something that I thought was probably the best advice of it's a very old school way to think that now you have to have the degree, you have to go to school to be educated. And I know for some people, like, oh, it's not really a new way of thinking. You can be smart and not have gone to college. You're absolutely correct. You can you can make millions, you can be a content creator, you can do anything. Don't have to go to school for it. You just either have to get one really lucky. A lot of it, even a lot of famous content creators have admitted you got to be really lucky, and you got to be able to. You have to know how to appeal to your audience. You have to know how to sell your product, and that was something that was brought up. Of, yeah, completely lost my train of thought there. I was like, man, I'm on a roll, and it's gone. But you have to be educated, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to school for it. And for some of these guys, hey, be educated in business. One of the greatest things that Charles Barkley said that he ever learned from Michael Jordan was, stop trying to do like all this weird stuff, like invest in stocks, like invest in these brands, so that way you make money in it in the future. He's like, what are you talking about? And then he did it. You kind of find out that was the greatest advice he could ever hear. So, but I do like, though, the commitment to at least getting a degree, having the education, having the networking more than anything. If that's one thing I learned from primarily being in the military myself for 8 years, as well as I know now I'm going to online school, so it's not the same. Network, go talk to people, go see what people do, go see who people are, just have conversations, because networking can play a huge role in, who knows, maybe you get hired on, maybe you get asked to help with somebody's business, maybe you get hired on or asked to, do this project for somebody or for somebody's company or anything. You never know what's going to happen as far as networking goes. So I do agree with trying to keep the stability. The other thing I would say too, as far as keeping kind of discouraging the transfer portal, really for the coaches and the programs both, is okay, now I don't have to worry as much of what does my roster look like in the long-term future. Because, okay, you can leave and then you have to potentially sit a year, which that's the only thing that I'm hit and miss about. And the reason why I say that is, yes, we've seen guys do that in like the really old school college football way, probably 10, 15-ish years ago, before the transfer portal was more, lenient. Of, yes, you can transfer, but then you have to sit a year. That's good and bad. It's good because, okay, you can leave where maybe you just don't feel happy, maybe you don't feel appreciated, maybe you want to go get another opportunity and whatnot. But it's bad in the sense of, and for any of my athletes that they definitely know better than I do, the next man up mentality. And you never know when that next guy is going to break out. And then, yeah, I came to Ole Miss, like I'm going to go be the starter. And, oh, hey, you have to sit out a year. You have to wait. Okay. Well, this young kid, all right, kid, you got to fill in the meantime. Maybe he turns out to be an absolute stud. It's like, all right, well, we're going to keep riding with him because he's younger. He's got the hot hand. We're going to keep running with him. Sorry, man. You can be the backup, though, or you can be a depth guy or a rotational guy. And some guys are okay with that. Some guys will adapt. Some guys will adjust. But that would be really my only issue is there are so many great young athletes now, and there's so many guys that are hungry, that are starving to be the next big star, to just get an opportunity to prove their worth for these teams. And so if you transfer and you have to sit, man, that really stinks. But I do like his counter, though, of, if you sit, you don't lose that year of eligibility, which, again, I appreciate. But again, if you're that guy that this happens and maybe you just get a bad luck at the draw, you try it again, or you just never have it happen, whatever the case may be, then, yeah, you lose that year of eligibility. Which, again, I appreciate. But again, if you're that guy that this happens and maybe you just get a bad luck at the draw, you try it again, or you just never have it happen, whatever the case may be, it's like, you may never get that shot again. And then at that point, it's like, all right, why do I keep doing this? I keep transferring. I have to sit and then I have to wait. And heck, who knows? We may end up having guys that are, almost in their 30s, still playing college football because, I transferred, but I still have that year of eligibility. And like he said, maybe it helps deter that. Maybe it helps keeping guys, once you commit, it's better if you stay. It's better the coaching staff already knows you. So I do see the positives and I do see the negatives, but it does really, really make me wonder though, you know, how well is that going to work for you if you do that? You know what I mean? But still, it's super fun though. It's fun. That's kind of the good and bad thing about college football is even though we're over 2 weeks from the season having been already finished, the national championship played and whatnot, that we still have these storylines coming through, which is absolutely crazy. But I'm also here for it because I love college football. It can't come back soon enough. We have, let's see, it's February and college football isn't going to come back until August. So we have like 6 months before it even gets to come back. And that's really sad, but that's the way of the game, unfortunately. Literally, that is the way of the game, unfortunately. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about real quick in the kind of second half of the show is right before Super Bowl weekend, the New England Patriots going to their 12th Super Bowl, which I have any Patriots fans watching. I'm sorry. I'm not happy that you guys are there. I'm about to turn 31. That is all I've ever watched is for the last 20 years. You guys just dominate. It's so aggravating as an NFL fan to have to watch the Patriots. It's so aggravating. Like if you're from Boston, if you're a New England Patriots fan, you have been loving life since like 2001. Not mad at you. For the rest of us NFL fans, it has been an absolute nightmare. Please go away. Please bring back please bring back the really dark years of New England from like 2020 to like 2024. Bring back the dark years for New England. But probably one of the biggest things that really took the headlines here recently is Bill Belichick being snubbed as a first ballot Hall of Famer for the NFL Hall of Fame. And there was a point brought up that I really, really liked. And again, people have been very hit and miss with their reception of this. For a majority of us sports fans, for a majority of people who I would say believe in a lot of fairness and believe in a lot of kind of fairy tale endings, I would almost say, or just happy endings in general, right? You have somebody like Bill Belichick, 8 Super Bowl rings, 6 of them as a head coach, right? Head coach in New England for 24 years, absolute domination pretty much that entire time. Multiple Super Bowl appearances, multiple Super Bowl wins, pretty much everything you could ask for from a head coach, from a franchise, and from a quarterback in Tom Brady that led them to all of those Super Bowls and made New England the franchise that it is today. During that, though, there's a lot of scandal. There's a lot of, NFL fans, again, people like myself who can't stand the Patriots, who they always want to find a reason for why the Patriots were successful other than just the general success that they had as far as discipline, coaching, whatever you want to consider is the formula behind their success, right? And, a few of the scandals that they had, everybody was really happy that New England got punished for it because you had Spygate 1, then you had Spygate 2, and then you had Deflategate was the last one. So 3 really big ones where New England lost draft picks, they lost compensation, they had a whole bunch of stuff. Tom Brady was suspended for the first 4 games, all these different things that happened with New England, and it all happened under Belichick. It all happened under Belichick's watch. So you've got like 3 big asterisks there on his career with New England as head coach, even amidst all the success he was able to accumulate there. And on the flip side, people kind of do the same thing with Kansas City. People, if you're an NFL fan, you kind of hate dynasties. And I do get it because you hate seeing the same team just win over and over and over. And a lot of it, there is a lot of just blatant favoritism towards those teams. I can tell you, I saw multiple Patriots games where it's like, somebody the offensive line got called for tripping, and he came out of his stance when the play was started. Not an offsides, not a false start, nothing like that. Jump back. The guy ran. He's trying to rush the passer. Trips over the lineman's foot because as he's trying to run through, not like the lineman's like, oh, hey, let me stick my leg out here, because does it probably happen? Yes. Realistically, with the inside guard, no, he's just trying to stand there to get his footing to try to, overpower the defender to keep his quarterback from getting hit. And I watched 2 plays in a row. They called tripping on the guard, giving, pushing the team back another 10 yards, pushing the team back another 10 yards, taking it down our way, et cetera. So, and it was against New England, and it was in New England. And it's one of those, again, as an NFL fan, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the call you're going, like, nobody else is seeing this. Nobody else is rolling with this. And this is what you guys, okay. And again, for a lot of NFL fans, they probably feel the same way about Kansas City. The refs miss a lot of really bad blatant calls with Kansas City. They let Kansas City get away with a whole lot of stuff. And Kansas City Chiefs fans probably argue with me. No, they don't. You see it one way, I see it the other. And that's perfectly okay, because you're going to see it, as a Chiefs fan, and you may see it like, it's not that bad. Same thing for me as an NFL fan. I'll be like, it's not actually bad. No, that was an awful call. No, that was holding, bud. Like, it is. It's a fun little back and forth cat and mouse game. That's always thrown out there. Now, as far as Bill not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, the theory and the rumor is that his 1 year being out of it so far, his first year of eligibility, they said no, they denied him. So now he has to wait until next year before potentially being able to be entered in, is supposedly punishment for all the issues and all the Deflategate and everything like that happened. So I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it, because to me that kind of reminds me of like double jeopardy, because New England was already punished for this once. Now you could probably make the argument, well, that's just New England as the franchise. Okay, well, Bill Belichick being the head coach and technically the GM with that, lost picks. I believe they were fined money on top of it as well. He's always going to have that on his record. Now, albeit he's done so well that overshadows that, which I think probably truly upsets people, because they may not feel that there was enough done to truly punish him for that, which to each their own type of feeling. But to me, this kind of feels like double jeopardy of if you didn't feel like he got it based off of purely qualifications, okay, sure, I can see that. Supposedly he did not have the 40 out of 50 votes that he needed to be able to get it. And maybe some people are just like, no, we don't feel like he's kind of worthy of being in the Hall of Fame, which again is crazy. Looking at purely the statistics and the numbers. Now, one of the things that a good buddy that we work with, Randy, brought up is they're doing this now to Bill as the head coach. And Randy's not a Patriots fan or a Bill Belichick supporter by any means, but he acknowledges what Bill was able to do and the success that Bill Belichick had, same as myself. He did bring up a really good point of they're doing this to Bill now while Bill's trying to be in the Hall of Fame as a head coach. Are they going to give Tom Brady that same treatment? So when Tom Brady, is officially eligible for the Hall of Fame, is he going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Or are they going to do the same thing to Tom? Like, you were part of both Spygates. You were part of Deflategate. Whole lot of issues up in New England when it came to that. Yes, you did win 7 Super Bowls. You won 6 with New England. You even went to another team and won a Super Bowl. Will they do the same thing and make him wait a year prior to being able to get in? I don't know. I don't think they will, but that is kind of the interesting, I would almost say, hypocrisy of it, of you'll probably punish the head coach, but you may not punish the quarterback, who was, I'm not going to say is equally guilty, but is equally a part of the franchise and the situation just as much as the head coach is. And we even saw just a little bit ago, I saw the announcement that Robert Kraft also is not getting into the Hall of Fame, at least his first eligible year. But somebody like Jerry Jones has already been in. He's been in for a couple of years now. So, and I think that's where people also get frustrated is you see somebody that I'm not going to say people don't think that Jerry Jones isn't qualified to be in the Hall of Fame, but when you do like a resume stack comparison of, Jerry's had a lot of success. He's on the team since 1989. They went to 3 Super Bowls with Jerry. They won 3 Super Bowls with Jerry, but he's never been back since in 30 years. Robert Kraft purchases New England back in 1994. They already had 2 Super Bowl appearances. They didn't win any, but they had 2 Super Bowl appearances before that. And then ultimately his turn and ended up running one of the most well-known franchises in league history as it currently stands right now, as his team's about to go to a 12th Super Bowl appearance and has the opportunity to potentially win their 7th in franchise history, and they'd be the only team in NFL history with 7 Super Bowl wins. Now, I know obviously there's, world championships and whatnot with other teams, old teams before the Super Bowl and whatnot, but in current modern day era post, 1960 with the Super Bowl, they'd be the first team with 7 Super Bowl wins. So it is crazy to see. It's a wild time as far as the off season goes and whatnot. It's kind of hard to believe a little bit, honestly. Just all the crazy, and this is how you know that football's winding down, and this is how you know that football fans are starting to get antsy because the season's already over. You got college football drama happening just after the regular season ended, right before the national title game, even continuing on now after. Even the same with the NFL. I know we've got still the Super Bowl this coming weekend, but all the drama as far as Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame, Robert Kraft now not getting into the Hall of Fame. So this is how you can tell football fans are like really, really itching for football to already be back. And we got like 6 months away before it happens. But this is also where we're going to see coming probably about April, you'll start to see more highlights as far as the draft goes. You'll even see college guys start to help out with the NFL drafts of like, hey, this is what we think this guy's going to be. This is where we think he'd fit best. This is what team we think he'd go with. So there'll be a lot of entertainment. There'll be a lot of things that people will be able to cover for football fans to try to hold them over. We also have spring football that's going to be coming up in March. So you'll have spring football, you'll have the draft. Spring football continues on through, I think, like June. And then you have to wait a couple months, and then you'll have some teams will have like spring football, which may be able to get them through in like April, Mayish. But then again, college football fans, NFL fans are going to be chomping at the bit through June and July, about to the end of July, because that's when some preseason games start until the beginning of August. And then everybody's like, all right, football season's back. Let's go. So, and that's definitely going to be me. I'm going to understand that 100%. But appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I am on pretty much all social media platforms everywhere. If you like the podcast, I am wherever you get your podcasts at. I'm also on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. If you like MBR, if you like Military Broadcast Radio, because they have a slew of great hosts that do other shows. They don't do just sports like myself. We do have other sports shows though. They have life advice, they have health advice, they have stories, they have all sorts of cool stuff. MB Radio or Military Broadcast Radio, mbradio.us. Great place to check it out. There's a little QR code right there. If you're watching to scan, you can learn more about them, or just Google mbradio.us. It'll take you to their website. You learn more about them. You learn more about the hosts that are on here. And again, big shout out to Gunfighter Beer Company as well for sponsoring. Again, if you want great beard care products, I absolutely love mine. The smell lasts all day. It doesn't leave my beard or my face super greasy. The scent lasts. It makes my beard soft. It holds the flyaways and whatnot, so my beard doesn't look too crazy. I think my beard looks pretty solid and pretty fine, but that's just me. And again, not just beard stuff, has tattoo balm, has stuff for the ladies, has all sorts of stuff and great smells, good prices, very veteran friendly. And it's for another fellow vet who's a small business out of South Carolina. So big shout out to them. Appreciate them for sponsoring me and whatnot. I may be back next week. I may end up reducing the show to about once every couple of weeks. But again, I am still going to come out though, kind of a college football for dummies series. And basically what that's going to be, if you have somebody in your life or know somebody in your life that maybe wants to get into college football, you're like, let me see if I can have somebody break it down for you. Super quick, super easy. I'm going to do super short TikTok videos that kind of explain it, maybe only a couple minutes. And then I'll maybe do an episode that's like 10 to 20 minutes long breaking down maybe a little bit more into detail about stuff, maybe give history on some conferences, on players, teams, et cetera, et cetera. So stay tuned for that if you want to check it out. I'm at Inside the Hoosier Mind on all social media. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate all the sponsors, and hope everybody has a great week. Hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. If you're in the Midwest, I'm really glad it's starting to warm back up. The last couple of weeks were absolutely freezing, but we will see y'all later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.